Empire.
Hello and welcome to another live stream edition of the John Conn Report. Do me a favor, subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. If you're watching on YouTube later, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. You can find us there as part of Empire Media, AMPIRE. Always much appreciated when you tune in. And don't forget, you can read my work on ESPN.com. Also, for you Gold members, I'll be doing a private Zoom for you on Thursday at 7:30 Eastern Time. Had a good one last time. Couldn't do one last week because of the Titan schedule, but had a good one a couple weeks ago. And I'd love to see more of you guys show up and take advantage of just getting some Q&A and just some good conversation. So anyway, 7:30 Eastern Time on Thursday. As you can see, I'm joined by Bram Weinstein, the voice of the Commanders, coming off what felt like a little bye. It was nice to have a weekend off where you felt normal. Did you feel normal, Bram? Or you were at the Washington Spirit game?
I'm not quite back there yet, but I think it was necessary. And I think it was, we talked about this for a couple of weeks that like this team needed a bye week bad, and the schedule kind of didn't line up very well for all of that. And it showed, especially Thursday night late for sure. And then, but I feel pretty good. Yeah, I did do the Spirit match over the weekend. Congratulations to them. They're on to the NWSL championship. That had Hail Mary feels all over it. It was, I don't know if you saw any of it, but it was nuts how they came back, and then their goalkeeper saved 3 straight penalty kicks in a row. I have never seen that before. It was nuts. So that was really fun. But it's Dallas week now, and I am reawakening, getting set for it.
And it's funny because it was nice. To get that extra day off on a weekend is quite a rarity. And so it'll be nice to get a real bye in a couple weeks. But I was able to smoke a chicken, get some pineapple up in that chicken and smoke it. It was great. And then even bought a chainsaw, Bram. So I'm ready to rock.
Ooh, for what? Why'd you buy a chainsaw? For what reason?
What else do you buy them for?
I don't know. You tell me.
It's to take out anger issues. No, it's like we got some trees in our property, so got to get some stuff down. So anyways, but it was good to get away. And as you said, it's Dallas week. And we're going to get into a lot of stuff and with Jaden. And I really, really think that there is an incorrect narrative out there about why the struggles exist, or at least maybe a needing to reposition what really is behind the quote unquote offensive struggles. But it is Dallas week. Now, it's funny, Bram, you're a longtime fan, obviously grew up here. As a reporter, it hasn't felt like a real Dallas week in a long, long time, because I'm not sure that players necessarily feel it. The fans, I think, do, but I'm not sure the players do. What's been your experience lately with that?
Well, it just hasn't lined up that the two of them have been good at the same time.
Right.
And that's happening again, this week. This is the unusual, turnabout is fair play situation where, good Lord, are they catching Dallas at the most opportune time possible. And then I'm personally, I've railed on this for years on my show. Every year I say this, and I hate this when the schedule comes out. I have no clue why they do division games in week 18 and why it's seemingly every year it's Washington and Dallas, because invariably one of the two teams is not playing for anything. And it just removes the rivalry. It takes the gusto out of the rivalry. It makes me nuts that they do this every year, and it's going to happen again. There is almost no chance that Dallas is turning their season around to make a playoff run. So that week 18 game is either going to matter to Washington or it's not. And it's just another example of this game having little to no value. And I wish the NFL would stop doing this, because I think these rivalries matter. And if they're put in any other portion of the season, they do. And I just wish they would stop doing that's my little soapbox about that thing. But I hear you on it's still a massive rivalry. It's just what has not happened is they haven't lined up to be relevant at the same time in a while, unfortunately.
Well, I also think again, in the locker room, because that's where in the community and here, you definitely are going to feel it. I think in the locker room, things have changed so much that there's just not, last week was a big game because it was Philly, it was for first place. And obviously it's a big game because it's a divisional game. Dan Quinn knows about it, et cetera. But I think the answer, the solution to what you were talking about is maybe it'd be better if these two teams were good at the same time. Like that 2012 game going back, and that was Robert's rookie year. That was a great atmosphere. And that's when you started to feel like, but it was because it was a big game.
Yeah.
So, I think like if you could get them once early in the year where before each team is kind of determined where they're going,
right,
then maybe that would help. But, it usually is the last game, because I do think like on the chance that you can get it to be a big game, it would be a lot of fun. But the last time I remember that was 2012. So it's been a minute.
You know what though? And here's the thing, like when does the NFL not rate really well? And that's my point. It's like, why even risk it? Like, why put no matter what you show on week 18, you're going to get good ratings. Why would you put at risk a rivalry game across the board? It's not just Washington, Dallas. Like, it's a Giants-Eagles game. It's probably a Bears-Vikings, Bears-Lions, or Bears-Packers game. Like, it makes no sense to do that. And if like whoever of those are going to be playing each other, invariably one of them isn't going to matter. Like, it goes across the board for all of them. Like, and that's why I wish they would change that. It's one of my biggest beefs with the schedule is I hate that they do it. But we're here now, and honestly, this week we're not playing the Cowboys as constructed. In the summer, this is really unusual. I mean, after last night, I don't know if Zach Martin's going to play. I don't know if Jake Ferguson's going to play. Brandon Cooks wasn't playing. We already know Dak is out. DeMarcus Lawrence has been out. Like, they're missing like half of their stud players. And so I don't know. So I don't know what we're walking into this weekend with them.
But and I think the focus has to be on what does this team do, right? Because
yes,
that's why. And I think I've talked about this before, and we talked last time that a couple of weeks ago we had to do this assignment for ESPN, which is a midseason review, and like what's the most important game of the second half. And I thought it was this one, because my concern for this team was they could be coming off a 2-game losing streak, so you need to win this game. And I think this is I'm not a big must-win guy, at certain points of the year, right?
Oh, when
you still have a lot of games left, this is a must-win. You have to,
especially based on the condition Dallas is in. This is
the condition they're in, and coming off a 2-game losing streak. This is a game you have to win at home. And does it matter how much? I don't know, but I think you have to look good doing it, because I think you want to show that, hey, what really happened the last couple of weeks was more about the opponents and maybe not ready to beat Philadelphia on the road, et cetera. But they went toe to toe with Pittsburgh. So, I think so you have to come back with a strong effort. What is it that when you look at it, what do you think needs to change coming out of this? Like, I hate to say mini bye, but this little time off.
I mean, largely, I just felt like they needed a physical break. And my open question is, and it's just kind of in thinking about it, like, did all of the up tempo early in the season catch up with them offensively in terms of just reps and attrition over time? And I don't really know the answer to that, but like the season suddenly got real long on the offense, right? On the offense, the offensive line, a bunch of injuries started to kind of pile up. Jaden, unfortunately, had, the rib injury and was kind of playing through it. Let's not forget that he and his left tackle are rookies. The rookie's been injured 3 separate times, that left tackle. Like, all of a sudden, they're at the point in the season. Dan Quinn admitted the other day, he's like, a rookie wall exists. That is real. It's something that we have to deal with. And they are relying on certain other players like Austin Eckler looks fresh as a daisy. Zach Ertz looks pretty good. They've been around the block a million times and they kind of know what this is about. So, but I do wonder a little bit if the up tempo, and I'm not complaining about it because their record is what their record is because they implemented it, right, because nobody could stop it. That's why their record is what it is. That's why their offensive stats look the way they look. But the offense really needed a break a couple of weeks ago. And I don't know if it's all of what they did up to that point that attributed to it or contributed to it a little bit, or if it's just, hey, look, it's the NFL and a bunch of injuries piled up at the wrong time. And, sometimes take Minnesota, for example. Okay. Minnesota, go watch them the last few weeks. They don't look like the same. They don't look like the same team right now, but look who they hit on their schedule when they hit the ebb of their schedule. Jacksonville, who's tanking out, obviously now, and Tennessee, who's not particularly very good. And they won those games. No style points. when this team needed a break in the schedule, they got the worst two possible teams in a 4-day period. So I don't think much more than that, other than I just think they needed a break, and the schedule did not line up right for that for them.
No, it did not. And I will say, like, one of the good things for them for Sunday, not just that Dallas is not playing well, although it's funny because, like, that was a fairly close game last night up until the fourth quarter. But Dallas has not stopped the run. And I think one of the things that can get this team going as much as anything is that run game. And I think this is a chance to get that healthy. Because I will say, Tennessee's not winning games. Their defense is really weird because they don't give up a lot of yards, but the team gives up a lot of points.
Yes.
So but you need to get healthy this week with the run game, and everything can set up from there. And also, like, it's funny because I know, like, the whole Jaden and the ribs thing has been a major topic. And it's funny because, like, if he throws an incompletion, it feels like, well, let me tell you this, Bram, I went back and watched every incompletion he's thrown since the injury to see, is there a trend with it? Is there, how much is there really something? Because I know what the team says, and the team has been, he wasn't on the injury report the last 2 weeks for a reason. It's not because they're hiding something. Everybody knows he had a rib injury. He wasn't on there because he was fine. So, and I sincerely believe that the lack of practice time impacted not just him, but the pass game, because you can see there were definitely times in the last couple of games where against Chicago and the Giants, I felt like he threw the ball pretty well. And I know people keep talking about throwing at people's feet. Half the time they're on screen passes where he's throwing it away. Sometimes it's because he's backing up. Like there was one ball the other day where he's backing up 10 yards to get away from the pressure and threw it at somebody's feet. That's not about the rib. So, but I will say, I think the accuracy has been an issue. And why is that? To me, it's the lack of practice time, and I think, like, certainly, that early on there would be an impact of any injury. Every player is impacted by whatever they have. He should have been out there. This is not Robert RG3, again. But in the last couple of games, I feel like the defenses they played, I felt like Philly took him out of their rhythm. But I think that's where the biggest issue to me has been the lack of rhythm and timing in the pass game. And some of that is obviously on him. A lot of that, it's the pass game. So I don't know. And, I can't say watching it that there's a consistent theme, because it's like I see these incompletions and someone says, oh, that's because of the rib. Well, then why is he making this throw over here? Like, what's your incompletion?
Only he can answer
Only
this.
He knows. Exactly.
Only he knows.
Only he knows.
I thought a couple of weeks ago it was affecting him, obviously. And I don't think the last couple of weeks, I wouldn't see it as an excuse. I will say this about the last game, and maybe this is Jalen Carter's amazing. There's possibility there that, like, let's give some credit to the other team a little bit here. I saw him backing up more than I've seen
Me too.
all year.
Right.
And so earlier in the year, he was either just vacating and running, or he was vacating and extending plays, which was an incredible, like, acceleration. And this is why we started going, oh my God, this guy's a unicorn. Like, he's so far ahead of schedule. And the last couple of weeks, is it injuries? Is it being unsettled by what's happening around him? The Giants and the Steelers, we had talked about this like a week ago. They were pressuring more than they typically do. And I was like, that's a message. I think teams are kind of looking at him this way, and they're going, we're going to come at him. He's going to get hit. And this past week, the Eagles won with 4 a lot. And that was something we haven't seen a lot of this year. Anybody who rushed 4 winning a lot against them, but they did. Brandon Coleman has been beat by speed rushers recently on a few occasions, and Jalen Carter was an absolute menace in this game and disrupted so many plays that I lost count. And this was the one, though, where I saw Jaden backing up, and anytime you see the quarterback backing up, the accuracy is going to go down significantly. And that's what I thought happened. And I honestly just want to kind of credit the defensive front of the Eagles, who dominated the game. And we just haven't, not unlike when we said a couple weeks ago, when he was inaccurate a little bit, and we go like, we're so used to pinpoint precision that it was weird to see it. This was the first time I saw a group bring 4 regularly and win. So Is that the Commanders, or is that the Eagles front and those 2 defensive tackles, and one specifically that's emerging as a star?
And not only that, but you can now cover with 7 with a terrific secondary. So Juan points out, he saw a lot of short passes to receivers. I'm telling you, as somebody who spent a few hours today going through every incompletion, there weren't a lot of short passes to receivers. There were a couple. There were a couple that were there, but then he also overthrew some guys, or he threw too wide on guys. So is the rib on only bothering you on incompletions like that, or does it bother you on every throw, right? Like that's the thing so you can't just sit there and say that, because I can go through every incompletion if you want. I can spend 20 minutes doing that. But like in the Giants game, he had 7 of them. One was high and wide. One was bad at the line. One was lost ball. His arm was going forward. One was a skip pass to McLaurin. That was a bad throw. And that's one where you say, oh, okay, right? We all say that, right? Then throw away in the red zone, a low pass to Eckler, but it was a screen. Like he was 5 yards away. It wasn't because his arm hurt. It's because it was a hurried bad throw. And then a red zone throwaway. So my point is, like, you can go through all these, and if it was going to bother him, it's going to bother him in Chicago and the Giants more than now. And so and there were a couple passes where you say, okay, but it's not like it was a lot. There were I'm telling you, most of the low throws were on screen passes where he basically grounded the ball just to avoid a loss. So, it's hard to find a consistent pattern that supports what you wonder about. And again, like you said, I'm not saying he's not. I'm just saying I don't think it's as simple as that. And I think like you said, the only person who really knows would be Jaden Daniels.
Yeah, I thought he was a little unsettled early against Pittsburgh, but also remember, Wiley didn't play. Coleman, Lucas was out. Coleman was a little shaky. And I think that there was a sense of what's in front of him. That's kind of the sense I got watching it a little bit. And then things settled down and everything was kind of fine. And remember, a week ago, they scored 27 against one of the best defenses in the NFL. And we were like going, wow, they didn't even really play very well, and ended up scoring 27 against them. Great. One was a short field, granted, but like still, like we didn't see a lot of that. It was this Philly game where I think we saw it all kind of add up. And I honestly wasn't surprised. Like the schedule, this was not great. They played this physical game. They're beat up. Their line's beat up. Their quarterback's a little bit beat up. The season's gotten long on that group in general. And Robinson had missed a couple of games. And all of a sudden, they got this turnaround to play top right now, one of the 5 hottest teams in the NFL. Like, it was just not a great setup. Like, so I want to see them get healthy and play Philadelphia again. Because, like, I'm with everybody here that, like, let's see, like what it's going to be about. And so I want to see that. I just thought it was a bad setup. They needed a bye week, and I don't think much more than that. And I'm whoever's down on Jaden Daniels, you all have lost your mind. Like seriously, honestly.
I don't know if anybody, is anybody down? I think they're just concerned. I don't know if there's anybody down on them. I think it's more about wondering. And here's the other thing. Here's the problem that I have, and not to make he's a rookie in a short week, like facing a top defense. But Alex wanted to know what our thoughts were in the last 5 minutes of the game. No urgency. I think I'm going to, like, the Eagles defense sat there. They play that split safety look, which takes away the downfield stuff. So it forces you to do that. And here's the other problem, but along with that, and they did a really good job against McLaurin, but I think it also illustrates the need to get another playmaker, a guy who can make consistent plays on that offense, whether it's running back or receiver or another young tight end, whatever it is. To take, if they're going to give that much attention to McLaurin, which they did, and I talked about that for the club members in a club video today about the impact of McLaurin. But anyway, I thought there was as much.
It's really interesting. Like, we can talk about the decision on that drive that led to what ended up being the spiral of the game, which was the first time this year we've seen anything spiral on them.
Right.
And the way they responded to that spiral, to the point of this question, like it's interesting. Like in real time when we were calling the game, I kind of felt like it was over. Like when it was 26-10, I just did, after what had happened over the previous 3 minutes. It was a short period of time that it really fell apart, that I just kind of felt like it was over. And then, like, in hindsight, because everybody started bringing it up because they're watching it, screaming at their television going, right, what are you doing? Hurry up. There was a part of me that when I rewatched it, I was kind of like, I get it. They took what they could get, and like they were moving down the field, but the urgency part of it was a little unsettling rewatching it, to be honest. Like it was a little bit, and they did end up scoring, but it was way too late. And so like in real time, I didn't think much of it. And then I saw the criticism of it. And then of course, rewatching the game, I'll be honest, I was a little bit like, wait a minute, like what's happening here? And I don't really, I don't know. It just kind of feels like for the first time this year, when things went a little haywire, they kind of, dropped their eye on the ball a little bit. It really felt that way. Like for the first, like it happened so fast. They went for that fourth down. They didn't make it. The Eagles scored really quickly, and it just was like a snowball hit a mountain and an avalanche hit. And once the avalanche hit, there was a little bit of a white flag. It felt like that went up, and I felt it personally at the time. But then rewatching it, I get it, where people were like, "What are you guys doing?" I do get it a little bit.
Yeah, and that's one where I'd have to go just kind of pay more closer attention to that aspect. I do think that defense prevents that doesn't mean you go slow. It just means you have to. It's going to be hard to hit plays over the top. They just weren't there. But that's separate from urgency. So I'm not going to, I think that's fine.
They didn't quit. They were going for it. They just weren't moving, I agree, fast enough. That's all. They took what they could get. There was no deep shot to hit. There was no quick score that was going to happen with the way the Eagles were playing defense, but they did let time run off the clock before they were snapping the ball. So on that part of it, I'll hear people out that it didn't feel like there was a massive sense of urgency there.
Agree. And absolutely. And the other thing is, as people brought up, like the rookie wall, and there is a reality to that. But I think it's hard to make grand pronouncements after playing these two defenses about whether I think we'll get a better feel over the next 2 weeks, because these are the kind of teams that they've beaten and handled, right? And it's where they've moved the ball and looked good. So I'll be curious to see how they bounce back from that. And I think you get a better sense. But the other, you look at what Pittsburgh did to Lamar Jackson. I mean, I don't think Lamar's ribs are hurting him, right? So that's a good D. So I think you just have to. It's just my point is it's not to It's not to overreact to anything, and it could be a number of things. And again, I'm not going to just because we also know sometimes you find something out later. It's but if it was still an issue, we'll see this week how sharp they are, because it's not a good defense, and you do get a full week of practice. So all that other stuff is now off the table this week. You've got to go out there.
And that's
so yes, for sure.
It's a really beat up team. They got embarrassed again last night. Everyone's literally on the pregame show talking about who's going to replace Mike McCarthy. Clearly that's just completely gone. We lived this last year. That one's just completely gone sideways. And so, if Washington got the worst of the schedule at the worst time with the state of their team, specifically the offensive line, by catching Pittsburgh at Philly in a 4-game span, well, the bounce back game is a team that doesn't look like the one that we thought we were going to get when the summer rolled around. So they need to take advantage of it. They've got Dallas in a very difficult spot with the team that they're putting up there. They need to win this game. I don't care how they do it. I'm with you on the run game. I want to go back to that for a minute, because I've been looking this up because I'm getting ready for the pregame
before you go there, I popped it up here. So I just want to answer while it's there, but Sean Garner wanted to know about Lattimore playing this week. We're not going to know until Wednesday what he's even doing, and we'll find out later in the week. So we don't know any more than that at this point. Go ahead, Bram.
Okay, so I looked up because they have been on multiple occasions over 50% of the game a run team, right? And when that's happened, not only have they put up some monstrous games like over 200-yard rushing games, but they've had 6.1 yards per play, 5.8 yards per play. That was against Arizona. The first one was against the Giants, 6.3 against the Giants, 5.8 against Carolina. So for the last 5 where they were over 50% run, they were nearly 6 yards a play. That's a big number, right? It's a really big number. When they didn't do it, okay, in 3 of the 4 where they didn't go at least 50-50 run pass, they were under 4 yards per play. This team currently is at its best when it runs the ball a lot.
Right, for sure.
A lot. So to me, and especially with who they're playing this week, this is a great week to get well.
Yes.
Turn around, go back to what you're good at. This is a B-Rob, Eckler, McNichols, whoever game, but a B-Rob game where you've got a defense that is, missing a lot of people, clearly down on itself, giving up a ton of points, 25 points 3 games in a row, crazy numbers that they're giving up right now. get back to what got you here in the first place, I expect a very run-heavy, front-forward, physical type of game for this team to hopefully get the offensive line back in rhythm and get Cliff and the offense back in rhythm and get play action back in rhythm again.
Well, and the other thing, it leads to more, and it's funny because I'm going to say second and shorts, third and shorts when you stay ahead of the chains like that. And someone else pointed out here about the second and short, but that 4th down and 2 sequence, they had 2nd 1 and 3rd 1 or 2, and they couldn't do anything. And by the way, on that run, and I'm going to check this out more, I thought at first that Cosme went, you wondered, I didn't know because you don't know, but he goes to the left, the others pull on the right. I think it may have been as simple as it was going to be a fake to Robinson going the other way. I talked about this with Logan Paulson. So, it could have been a fake going to Robinson the other way and Jaden just sprints out the other way. But the fact that he bobbled the ball kind of messed that up, and the fake would have taken care of Carter. That's the theory of it. So I'm going to find out more about that because I talked about this the other day. So I want to find out more anyways, but for the run game, having Brian Robinson back and healthy, it just adds that consistent dimension that they don't have when he's not in there. And, Chris Rodriguez did a nice job against the Giants, but it's just different when you have Robinson in there with Eckler and then mixing with McNichols as well. So and if you can get that line is banged up. And I think that's where, again, you need that bye for sure. But, and we'll see. And like someone else, Kingsbury's the slide. I mean, I don't think we can say that. Like when I'm watching Pittsburgh, they should have scored more than 30 points in that game, Bram. So I don't know. Like,
we don't know, and obviously he's living with a reputation from Arizona. But I will say this for that again, like I don't know that Cliff Kingsbury went into the season thinking they would be running the ball as much as they have, but they started having such a tremendous amount of success doing it with all these various different players doing it that I think that that's what they're going to go back to, especially this week. And hopefully it'll start to garner some of the same results. And on Robinson, I mean, I did this a couple of weeks ago. Like they ran the ball pretty effectively against the Giants, who also do not have a very good run defense, and then didn't run the ball effectively against Pittsburgh. Shocker. They do have a good run defense, and Robinson didn't play. But on the whole, if you took that Giants game, the snapshot of it, what was really telling was they were kind of across the board about a yard less per carry without Robinson in there against a bad rush defense, okay? Like that doesn't sound like a lot, but extrapolated over the course of the game where you go from 2nd and 7s to 2nd and 6, 3rd and 4 to 3rd and 3, 3rd and 2, the playbook is wildly different in those scenarios. And that's where on the margins that it makes an enormous difference outside of he does do a couple of these physical and kind of emotionally charging runs like the one he had against Philadelphia. He can be a heartbeat for them. And at times it's that extra yard or two that makes all the difference in the world that extends these drives. So his presence is enormous for them. Running the ball is enormous for them. And I think this is the week that they go back to it. And because this team is also that they're playing weak against the run. So it would make a lot of sense that this is the direction that they're going to ultimately go.
Sure. And I think going back to the Kingsbury stuff, and I had Josh Weinfuss on, our Cardinals reporter, after they hired Kingsbury. And that was one of the criticisms of him out there was the second half of the year. And in I think it was 3 of the 4 years or something like that, where they scored less. But one of those years, Kyler Murray's not hurt it, tore his ACL. You had James Conner out one year. But in talking to other people, like they would say, like, there were things that they figured out, but I don't think this is the same offense. And you also have a different quarterback. And to be honest, like you have a quarterback here, a young quarterback who studies a lot more than what Kyler Murray did under Kingsbury out in Arizona when they were together. So I don't know that you can say this is the start of it. Again, 3 of the last 4 weeks, they've played defenses that are considered top 10 defenses. And 2 of them, I would say, are 2 of the best that they will face this year, period. So it's hard to say that is it that. That's why I think this week, and to a lesser degree, Tennessee, but Tennessee has a good D in terms of yards. That's when I think we'll get a better feel for it. So I'm not ready to go there yet because they scored, they should have scored. They didn't. The Bears game was a red zone thing. Got to do better there and be more consistent for sure. And the Giants, it's always a weird one, but they also had the ball inside the 5 and taken a knee late. So I'm not ready to go.
Bears game, poor in the red zone. Last 2 weeks, 5 for 5 in the red zone. So it's hard to kind of figure. It's hard to figure.
I'm not ready to go to I'm not ready to blame it on some slide at this point. I think, and we're really talking about one game. It was the Eagles, but to me, like situational ball, you have to be better on third down. But that, to me, some of that, Bram, goes back to the run game. And then if you get away from these defenses, we'll see more. Will Daniels get back to being able to use his legs a little bit more to extend? I mean, it's not like he's ripping off 30-yard runs, but he was getting 7-8 yards that puts you at 2nd and 3, which makes a big difference. So
yeah, I'm not overly concerned. I will be overly concerned if they have a bad outing this weekend.
Yeah, I would agree
because of the situation that they're in with who they're playing. But I'm not overly concerned in general. Like, I kind of saw this coming. Like, it just felt like for the last couple of weeks, they needed a bye really badly. The injuries were piling up on them, specifically at one unit. They're taking on Philadelphia and Pittsburgh. It's bad time to have a bunch of O-linemen that are questionable and iffy to play. I actually thought the O-line did relatively well against Pittsburgh, all things considered. And I think up until the fourth quarter, and this is like the one disappointment of the thing in Philadelphia to me, because I'm not surprised they lost. It was a tough ask, surging team. We don't have a very good run defense. That running back is bare minimum offensive player of the year and maybe MVP. Like, he's having just an absolutely ridiculous season. They're surging. The one disappointment for me was I do love the way this team fights and competes. And I thought for a very short period of time after that decision on fourth down where they got stopped, it all just kind of crumbled. And then to the earlier point of they didn't show a tremendous amount of urgency coming out of it when they were down 2 scores. I agree. It was kind of like there was a little bit of, we're going to get them next time, guys. Like, there was that general feel to it. And I didn't love that part of it because I'm just not accustomed to seeing that at all. And maybe on Tell the Truth Monday, they saw it too. But in the end, I felt like this team has needed a mental and physical break for a while. They just got it. And they're about to get another elongated one once they get through these next 2 home games. And if they're sitting 9-4, which I hope they are, and if they are, then all of this stuff that we're talking about will just be the adverse part of the season that everybody goes through. Like,
correct.
Philadelphia's, they were 2-2. Like everybody has it.
Let me say this too, Bram, and this is something else just for just the reaction to that Eagles game. This feels like it felt normal, right? And I say that because, like, the whole year it's been a magical ride, 7-2, right? And you get to the Pittsburgh game and it's a 1-point loss, but it's actually a really good game. The Eagles game was the first one I felt like people were really genuinely ticked off, right? And I enjoy that because it means that, like, you guys are expecting more, the expectations are raised. That's a good thing. Like, and it should be like that, right? But I think that, to me, that was part of it. Felt like it felt like Philly radio after they lose, where people were just like, but that passion is good. Like, I think that's it can be sometimes tiring to receive all that, not necessarily directed at us. However, I think it's great because it means people are caring again. And I just think it's been a while since they cared to that level, and it's one game. And so, you can get it back. Does it mean they still have work to do with their roster? Absolutely. Like, and the first group that would tell you that are the people inside over at the Commanders facility. They know the work they have to do. And so I think that, but I did want to bring that up though, because that's one thing I thought about, like, the way people talked about the fourth down call or the debate about Jaden or his ribs or whatever it is. That's good football stuff late in the year. And it's like it's heightened. And I really, really, really like that. And I'm glad we're talking about that and not about, like, what's the draft pick? Are they going to fire this guy? Right? When are they going to, who they going to, you know what I mean?
No, we're like I said, I'm not worried. Like, I think you play good teams, you lose to them sometimes. The schedule was not set up very well for them to be successful this past week. I didn't think they were going to go 15-2. I don't know why anybody thought they would, so, like, let's everybody chill out, calm down. We're good. And they're going to turn around, and it looks like they're catching a break this week with a team that has a set of injuries that I kind of can't believe, and clearly bad narratives about what the future is going to be for them. So the schedule opened up all of a sudden for them in a game that didn't feel like it was going to be this way a month ago, and now it suddenly is. So they need to take advantage of it. And if they do, they're back on the winning side. Everybody feels good. They're a week away from a bye week playing an under 500 team at home. You don't like that? I do. Like, that feels good to me. Like, if we're sitting at 9-4 going into the bye week, 4 to go, 2 of them at home, 1 of them again against Dallas, where their season will be over by that point. Oh, I feel pretty good about where we are. So I think everybody needs to steady. You know, I am with you. I appreciate that everyone's standards have gone up. Mine have too. And that's why I expect them to win this weekend. This is the first time I'm like willing to say it out loud. I expect them to win this weekend because the standard is up and they're catching a team that is really undermanned, and hopefully they'll take advantage of it.
Yeah, because if they don't, that's when you start to say that's when things get questioned. But I also understand like there's a lot of angst because of what happened the last few years where, not necessarily last year, but the previous 2 years where it hits a stride. But that team was never as consistent as this one. And I would say this, like being around this team, the mindset is so much better and healthier, and I think more conducive to long-term building and success. But, you got to do it. You got to go out and do it, Bram. So got anything else you want?
Statement from Jason, who says, I just wanted to see them beat a good team.
Oh, yeah.
Arizona's over 500, and they killed them on the road. Do you think Cincinnati really stinks? Joe Burrow is the number one passer in the NFL, and Jamar Chase is the number one receiver in the NFL. They won there on Monday Night Football. When they beat the Bears, and I know the Bears have completely fallen off the map since the Hail Mary, they were 4-2 when they beat them. They have beaten good teams. Like I am done with that narrative too.
Well,
telling me they haven't. They have beaten good teams this year.
Well, so here's the other thing with that. Most teams that have really good records have built it on beating really bad teams or beating a lot of bad teams. For example, so I was on a Philly radio show last week, and he asked me, the host asked me, like, do you think they've built their record against bad teams? Like, well, yeah, I mean, it's there. But guess what? So have the Eagles. And he kind of was very quiet at that because like the record of the teams they had beaten to that point was 22-45. They beat one team with a winning record. Buffalo had one win over a team with a winning record before beating Kansas City. So that currently has a winning record. So your job in the NFL is to beat those teams. That's how you make the playoffs. Now, to become a serious contender, like for a Super Bowl, then there's
Jason, they were good when they played them. Arizona has already beaten San Francisco, nearly won in Buffalo on opening day, and they killed them. Chicago was at their best when Washington beat them. They were 4-2 at the time. Now, that Hail Mary clearly broke them for whatever reason, but they were good at the time. So I'm done with this. They have played not all great teams, but some really good ones along the way. And I'm done with this idea that they haven't played anybody yet. It's ridiculous.
Well, the other thing is when they played the quote unquote, those teams, I mean, they blew out Arizona again, winning record, but they blew them out. They blew out the Browns as they should. They blew out the Panthers as they should. Not everybody's blowing those teams out every week. The Ravens lost to the Browns 2 weeks ago. So you have to be careful with only falling to that. This isn't college football, and the margin is so much more narrow. So I think if you're going to play those teams and you take care of your business like that, like that's all you can do. But my thing would be to get to, if you want to be viewed as a Super Bowl contender, well then, yeah, you want to win some of those games. You should to show that. But who thinks that they're at that point at this point? I mean, that would be a bit of a stretch right now. But yeah, if you go out and beat a team like that, then you can be differently. But what if they win 11 games and they don't beat the Eagles in a couple of weeks? You going to be okay with that? I mean, here's the thing. Like they lost to the bad teams before. This is what you won 4 games last year.
No, I'm done with the narrative of they haven't played anybody yet. Yes, they have. They've actually played a pretty tough schedule if you really look at it.
Like I don't know if it's, I don't know how
they played a tough schedule. And they're 7-4 in the tough schedule. Like I don't like. I'm done not crediting them for what they've done here. Yeah. I'm done with that.
I don't care if it's easy or tough. It's an NFL schedule, and they've played NFL schedules for a number of years. Bram, this could be the first time I've covered this team, as we all know, for a long time. I have never covered a team that won 11 games in the regular season.
Oh, here we go. It took to game 5-10 or whatever it's going to be for you.
I mean, but seriously, that's my point, though. Like, it's not like this is the only year they've played teams that would be considered not at a certain level. So, I'm not like, yes, you want to beat the good teams, but they have been a good team this year. Like, yeah. So I don't know. I'm not, but anyway, people can think whatever they want. I just think like enjoy being 7-4 for, that with a team that should make the playoffs.
Hopefully. Yeah, we'll see.
I mean, and I would say this, they have the schedule. If your concern is they don't beat good teams, well, they don't play a lot of them left. So you're in good shape.
Also, like John, they're 7-4. They got 4 of 6 at home.
Yes. Yeah. And
it's all in front of you.
Yeah, no,
that's the thing. They lose these next 2. We're gonna have a weird conversation about where this team actually is. They go and win these next 2. They're 9-4, and don't at me on who they beat. Like 9-4 is 9-4 in the NFL. I don't want to hear it.
Look at the AFC East, how bad it is. Like you have to understand. Like I told someone else, you kind of have to go look around the rest of the NFL, win games. That's what you need to do. Get in the playoffs. Win games, get in the playoffs, see what happens. Now, if you to be a consistent playoff team, then yeah, you got to beat those teams. But this is the first year of that, so we don't know if they're going to be that or not. And schedules will change in next year, but so will their roster. So I think it's just, I think it's they're 7-4 and they play pretty well.
This is the biggest truism of it. Yeah. This is a week-to-week game. It's not who you play; it's when you play them. Had we played Dallas 6 weeks ago, it would be a very, very, very different team than they're playing this weekend. Had Washington, and I'm hoping, had Washington not had the definitive need for a bye and all the injuries that they had going into that Philadelphia game, would it have been a different result? I guess we'll find out in a month, won't we?
Yeah, I mean, the Eagles are the team to beat. They have their roster is good, and so, but whatever. They're really good. All that stuff will get
yes.
Yeah, all that stuff will get settled in soon enough. And this week it's Dallas. Bram, thanks a lot as always for joining me. Thank you everybody for a good spirited session here tonight, and enjoy the rest of the week. I'll be back on, I believe, Thursday with Todd Archer talking about the Cowboys. Listen, folks, you want to tune in for this one because you're going to hear some misery from Dallas. So that's Thursday with Todd Archer from ESPN. Talk to you next time.